Hi, my beautiful community of Lily Sin Barreras. Today we start a new journey. A journey that talks about not only survivors, but thrivers. Why me? Because you all know that mental health is what I do. But this segment and many more are going to be called All About Us. I am sharing today the studio for the first time with Kathleen 10 Hours. You have heard about her, but today you're going to learn about her. Quick disclaimer before I introduce her to you is that this topic is about sexual assault, rape, and abuse. So I want you to make a decision on, do you want headphones? Do you want to watch this? Is this going to trigger you? But let me tell you what you're going to get out of it. You're going to learn about what this really means to many survivors. You're going to learn about a woman who've actually said, I must tell my story, and you're going to get tools if you're going through this or somebody else. So that's my promise to you. Ladies and gentlemen, community, Kathleen 10 Hours. How are you?
I'm good.
What do you hope people get out of this?
I think that as a survivor, I have always learned from other survivors, and I always appreciated really listening to their stories and learn something from it. But I guess above all, I want to tell my story, and I want to talk about how I survived the sexual assaults in my childhood, and how you can still have a good life if I was blessed with a lot of good therapy, but I had to work really hard to do it. But I guess I just want people to know that it is possible to get your life back, because for a while it seems like you don't have your own life.
Kathleen wrote this book, and I've had many authors who talk about being abused, sexually abused, raped. What I love about this book, The Other Side of the Wall, it's not a political statement, Unbreakable, is that it's almost a healing guide. Because Kathleen, you take us through the pain, but also the gain, and their journey and details. So if you want to read one chapter, even if you want to skip a chapter and go to the, how does she survive? What is she like? Where does she come from? All of those things are in here. We're not only going to do one video. That's why it's called All About Us. We're going to do many, many videos for you, as I truly believe that as a survivor myself, I have not reached the level where Kathleen is. To write a book and to share the story in such organic, transparent, and genuine way. Hopefully someday.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
We all take our own path. So yes, maybe someday.
Okay, smile. This is how we met each other. You want to tell people how we met each other? You want me to tell it? You tell me.
Oh, you tell. You start, I'll add.
Okay, because this is what we do all the time. So we have a common friend that actually is Kathleen's best friend, right? So my neighbor, her name is Julie, but I gave her, you know me, I'm Puerto Rican, her own name, Juliana, and she loved it.
She did.
You want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So I met Julie. I'm a nurse, a registered nurse, and we worked on the same floor for many years. And as I've said before, and she's in this book, Julie, as a co-worker who became my best friend, was also one of the first people, certainly that I worked with, that I told my story to. And she was such a trusted friend and kept it to herself, and she supported me so many times in my job when I had different issues going on inside. And then she also introduced me to my husband.
Hello, Mike.
And husband was married to my now husband. They were best friends. So all these best friends, and then they descended upon us.
So the boys were married before you got married.
Yeah, they were good brothers.
They were married to that brotherhood, that's for sure.
But anyway, close, dear friend. And she introduced me to Lydia, who lives right across the street
From her, yes, absolutely. Now she's our angel.
Yes.
We both believe the same thing. Now she's our angel.
Yeah.
Kelly, I want to talk about your book. As I said, it's very unique in the sense that you don't only say this happened to me, but you say, here's my journey to healing. And that's why I think you guys are going to want to take notes. You're going to want to purchase this book, and you also are going to be like me, probably some of you, that throws it across the room because we want to protect her. That's how good the writing in this book is.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. Kathleen, when do you decide? Now, you are a registered nurse. You are a
Retired.
Mom. Well, now she's retired. A registered nurse. So this is a caretaker. Okay, a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister. When do you decide that this is okay for you to write?
Right. Well, it took me a long time to actually tell anybody. I was 38 years old when I first breathed the words to anyone, and that was my therapist. And I am now 70.
Which nobody believes. I still want ID.
Thank you. But I was silent from the age of 6 till the age of 38. So I had a lot of healing to do. Obviously, if you've been hurt for, I guess it was 6 or 7 years in your childhood, you have a lot of healing to do. So it took a very long time.
Your childhood was stolen.
Correct. Yeah, it was.
It was just stolen.
Right. And so the healing process, I don't know, I'm like on 30 years of working at that. And I'm in a really good place now. But I finished this book, and it was published in 2021. But it took me 5 years to write this book. I wrote it during the night, on weekends, while I was working full time. And in the beginning it felt like, well, I'm never going to really publish this. I'm just going to write it. And,
that's where I live, people.
And that's it. But as it went on, it was scary to write the book. But then it felt really healing when I started talking about all the different things that I've done over those 30 years of that journey of healing. I felt like, well, maybe this could help somebody. Even if it helped one person, one survivor. Because I read...
And it helped me?
Yes, that's so good. Over the years, I read many memoirs of other survivors, and that helped me. Some people want to avoid them because it's triggering and everybody is different. For me, I needed to feel like I wasn't alone. You know, I wasn't the only person in the universe that went through this. And intellectually, I knew I wasn't, but inside, I still felt really alone. So when I finally wrote the whole book, I thought, well, maybe there's other survivors out there that might want to read a story about how another survivor healed themselves with help. I could have never done it without help.
Let's break some barriers for you. Tell me about your family.
Oh, my family. Thank God for my family. My parents were the most kind, loving, giving parents ever. That I have 2 younger brothers, and we were kind of a strict Catholic family. We went to public schools in the beginning, and then we went to a Catholic high school. none of that really matters, except for the fact that where I learned love was in my household. And so I had this base of love and security where I don't know how I would have survived if I did not have that, because that's not my experience. I was hurt by a neighbor just a couple doors down, and I was sworn to silence in many different ways.
And the reason why I ask you, and I'm sure you at home wonder, who can become a victim? Anybody. And so we have all of this misinformation out there of what a victim looks like, what a survivor looks like. Oh, they must have not been very loving or caring, and they were looking for love in other wrong places, and that's a song, by the way. And so what I love about this is that you break a lot of myth with your book. I hate that this happened to you, but you break a lot of myth that we hear out there, and manipulation of people using their information about what do we look like, right? So in your case, mommy and papa, which is what I would call them, mom and dad were great, absolute people. You come from a loving family. You come from a family who practiced faith. So all of those things were at the table. Correct?
Correct. In fact, this all started like either right before or just after my first Holy Communion, like, which in our family was such a big deal, and I felt so special, and then my whole life turned around.
So let's think about this, because I want to make sure because we're going to walk through this. At 6 years old, this is the part that, for me, it is difficult for me as a survivor. It is difficult every time I hear a story. It is painful, but 6 years old, you do not have the maturity to even know. And you grew up in such a loving family, such a trusting family, and who could imagine that it's, down the street, or, nobody. No one can imagine that. And you're thinking about a 6-year-old. How does this 6-year-old get lured? Because when you read the book, you were lured.
I definitely was lured. Do you want me to talk about the lure?
Please.
Okay. So, I named my perpetrator Daryl in this book, and his sister.
She's looking at the camera guy going, what does that mean? That means we gotta wrap up this video too for the next one.
Anyway, she said, would you like to come to be in this play and come to some tryouts in our garage? And I was so excited because she was the teenage group. She was older than me, not as old as my perpetrator, but I was so excited. The big kids wanted me to be part of this. And I said, but I got to ask my mother. And they said, oh no, we want this to be a big surprise. And they will really enjoy the surprise.
Which was, keep it a secret.
Yes. And I said, I can keep a secret. In fact, I said, I'm going to cross my heart.
And I promise I will never tell.
Right.
Stay with us to the next video, but remember these words. Keep it a secret, and I will never tell.